Croeso Sianel Blaid Llwyd. And here we are, a new series for the channel. A lot of you have been asking for Lyre, and the only reason I haven't actually done it before is I haven't really had the time to do it. So here we are, I have some time, and actually February is going to be something of a month of new VNs. I'm going to introduce a couple more as we go through the month. And just to warn you about these ones, I'm not going to be super careful about doing the updates as they come out. And of course with Lyre there's quite a bit for us to get through here, so I won't be caught up in one video. But I will be doing those the few. But otherwise there might be some slightly longer the gaps between these ones, but I will be continuing the series and just doing what I can because I have a lot of VNs here. But anyway, I wanted to just clear that up, so please don't keep asking me when's the next Lyre coming out 1 week after. It might be the next month. I'm in for a different VN every video in a month. We'll see how that works out, but I think we can do that. And so there's a couple more to come as well, which I hope you'll enjoy. But with the introduction out of the way, I'm falling, but I don't fear hitting the ground. All around me I see the vast landscape of our continent, Tigran. It's all laid out like a map, slightly curved and difficult to see through the misty clouds. My hands are sprawled out to my sides as a bird gliding through the dense air. This slows the process of my descent, allowing me to truly take in the landscape. I guide my body to look behind me to the northeast and see the kingdom of Lyre, a beautiful city with a massive castle surrounded by walls, set on the lands of the fjord, its snow-capped mountains shining pink with sunlight. The grassy hills rolling down to the waters like a thick blanket. I can see the cliffs of the fjord and how they dip into the river below. The path leading up north through the mountains is treacherous, yet serene. And stretching across to the west of Tigran, I can see the kingdom Varen, my home. The water of the lochs are glistening with sunlight, and the white sand of the coast is unnaturally bright. I see ships going in and out of the bay, their sails filled with a deep fall wind. The Shadow Gulch is as ominous as ever, with its cypress trees twisting up from the bottom of the rivers into the sky, shrouding the ground in a deep shadow. My gaze turns to the southern desert, its large plateaus reaching high and forming the canyon pass. This leads down through the Badlands to the Kingdom of Driss and its bustling markets. The walls curving with the shape of the dunes, connecting with the citadel, a great impenetrable structure. My eyes then wander around, looking over every detail of the land, forgetting that I'm falling, instead feeling like I'm flying towards wherever my eyes take me. Just as I feel a presence next to me, I see the world pulled from my visions and my body is sent higher at a very fast speed. I feel fear as everything starts to fade from view. I roll over on the cool bed sheets, feeling the air around me compress. My eyes open to a thick light pouring down above me, hitting the foot of the bed I'm laying in. I hear this distant clatter of metal along with voices. Feels like a cold fall afternoon. There's a stuffy smell that lingers around me as I see dust particles dancing in the light. My mouth tastes dry. My heart starts to rhythmically beat in my chest, picking up pace with every second. I look down at my body and notice I have thick bandages wrapped around my torso. I reach out with my hand just around my stomach and feel a twinge of pain near the lower right side of my gut. My mind is racing with questions. I sit up and the feeling of all the blood rushing to my head makes everything go dark. I shift in the bed and slowly wriggle myself out from underneath the covers. I go to lift myself from the bed and stumble a bit as I steady myself on the cold floor. I look around the decorated room I'm in. It is elegant, with a nicely sized bed, a desk and a slightly open glass door that leads out onto a balcony, where I can see the afternoon light shining down onto the floor. A few bottles and bowls of medicine are strewn about, laying on the cabinet in front of me. I slowly start to walk to the door when I suddenly begin to feel horrible. Everything seems to kick in at once. I'm slowly crouching to the floor. I crawl to the floor and lay there for a second, waiting for it to pass. As I lay there feeling my insides twist around and dance in my body, the door opens, met with a creepy figure in a dark green robe, wearing a pointed mask and a hat. It looks as if they're about to do something, but stop in the doorway. I feel their gaze fall on me from behind the dark goggles. You're awake. Good, yes. He stutters this out with much effort in an odd voice. Oh dear, wait here for a moment, please. I'll be right back with help. He prances and stumbles back through the doorway, leaving it slightly open, his feathery tail floating behind him. All I can do is lay there as I hear him scuttle off, calling someone's name. I start to feel a little bit better, and the squeamish feeling subsides slowly. Just the cold floor starts to feel nice. I hear muffled voices from outside the door. One of them I recognise as the bird, the other seems rather gruff and annoyed. Of course I made I leave for a drink, something happens. How long has he been awake? I don't know, he's just lying there on the floor. Is he okay? Well, not really, he seems to be in some pain, but that's to be expected. Or maybe he was just scared of you. What are you getting at? The mask makes you look ridiculous. It's a safety precaution. I hear the footsteps and voices get closer until they're right outside the door. You'll never catch me wearing one of those. The short-cloaked bird shuffles in the room carrying a bag. Walking behind him is a wolfman of sorts. He's very tall and muscular, almost having to bend over to walk through the doorway. He closes the door behind him. His right eye is scarred and he has a semi-annoyed expression on his face, contrary to his tail slightly swishing left and right. His clothing is simple yet elegant. Large, white and bulky with fur trimming and metal plate armour. A large white cape drapes behind him with a blue interior. I see a symbol on the breastplate which I can somewhat recognise as the king's family sigil, a pair of antlers stretching high. He's coated with dark brown fur which is very fluffy around the neck. His eyes trail around the room, landing on me. He then walks forward and begins to speak. Do you need any help? I nod my head. He stands awkwardly for a moment before walking forward, his padded feet thumping against the smooth floor. The dwarf then proceeds to kneel down and gently reaches out to pick me up. He pauses before hesitantly touching me, reaching into my legs with his paw, then reaches the other arm around my back and grips my shoulder. The wolf lifts me up and adjusts me in his grip so that I don't fall. His neck fur grazes against my face as he carries me over the bed and lays me down in it, gently reclining me back against one of the large pillows. I mumble out some appreciation. Thank you. He grunts in response. God, Leaf, it's fucking cold in here. At least make him decent and give him a shirt to wear. Clothing would mess with the bandages and fresh air would do him some good. Besides, how are you cold? I'm not, but the floor feels like ice. I'm sure that he's fine. I sit up in bed with some hesitation, open my mouth to speak. Who are you? The two turn and look at me. As Leaf makes a motion to speak, the wolf places the paw on his shoulder. My name is Lyre Reed. I'm the commander of the Royal Guard, and this is the royal family's physician, Leaf. He says this with a certain twinge of proudness, his tail swishing slightly. Yes, I'm sure we can dispense with the formalities for now. Do you remember anything before the crash? I look down at my torso and the two connect. So that's what happened. You can't remember? He has a curious look on his face, his eyes stare into mine with extreme intensity, while Leaf scuttles over to the bedside table. Kind of. It's all a bit vague. Here, have some water. Leaf walks over to me carrying a small goblet of water. I accept it cautiously, bring it to my lips, taking a short drink. Slowly it all starts to come back to me, if I'd just woken up after a horrible dream. I was on my way north, the kingdom of Lyre, as ambassador for the kingdom of Erin. During a cold and rainy night on the 11th day of travel, as we were nearing the outskirts of the kingdom, I remember minding my own business in a small, closed-off cart. Suddenly there was a loud rumbling noise and shouting. That's all I can remember. Can't remember much of what happened, just everything before blacking out. A mountain passed. Just outside the outer city there was a rock slide. It wiped through most of your small entourage and killed some men. When our rangers came on where it happened, your carts and wagons were almost decimated. You had a piece of splintered wood lodged in your side. Thankfully it didn't hit anything vital, and you seem to have recovered well over the past 4 days. While Lyre rants about how the mountain pass is too dangerous to take anymore, I look down at my side and feel the bandages. It's painful, but I don't have to bring a wince through my body. I was out for 4 days? Aside from the occasional stirring in your sleep. I quickly try to shake off the thought of someone watching me sleep. That had been pretty scary, waking up in the middle of the night to a 6.5-foot tall wolf in the corner of an unfamiliar room. Well, I hope this doesn't cut into anything important. Oh, don't worry, things have been quite slow lately. There hasn't been much being discussed, and we're still waiting on the ambassador from Driss. He falls silent, at first staring at the window behind me before his eyes fall back down. His tail swishes slightly, and after a long awkward pause he speaks again. The king has assigned me to be your personal guard. This statement surprises me. I was not expecting the king to assign me a guard, let alone the captain himself. For some reason, on my way here, my imagination led me to think of a king who was rash and dismissive, had no time for political nonsense. Thought I'd be completely on my own. That's usually how it goes. So I'm thinking this Leaf moves over to the other side of the room and fiddles with something in his little bag. I'm sure you do a fine job, sir. I'll make sure to give my thanks to the king. Lyre grimaces a bit and his nose gives a small twitch. You don't have to refer to me with such titles. Lyre is fine. I give him a slight nod. It certainly isn't the introduction I'd hoped for. One moment I'm sitting in my cart heading around the mountain pass, almost my destination, where I'll be received by the castle staff and possibly even the king himself. Instead, I wake up in my new chambers, unfortunately having missed everything important with my arrival. As kind as these two are, the situation I find myself in is less than preferable. I sigh and shake my head. Well, as long as I haven't missed on anything important. My thoughts still dwell on the crash. I haven't really had enough time to let it settle in that people just died, that I almost died. It's a shame that rock slide happened. I'm very thankful that your rangers were able to save my life and many others. Lyre gives a slight smirk of acknowledgement. I can already tell he's a bit modest, even if his tail is sweeping the ground. It's their job. Leaf struts over to me with a small bowl of some weird mushy substance. It looks familiar, but I haven't had to take that much medicine in my life. Here's something to ease the pain. This is most likely the last time you have to take it, considering you've healed very fast already. I stare down the bowl in discomfort as Leaf drones on about the unique healing process in eating humans, along with some other stuff I didn't care to focus on. I take the small bowl and drink down the strange mix. There's a thick consistency. The texture is like eating sandy mud. Not that I've ever done that before. The taste, however, is not as bad as I thought it would be. It has a savoury flavour that's very hard to describe. Still not pleasant enough for me to thoroughly enjoy it. If you don't mind, I'd like to take a look at your bandages and also see how your recovery is coming along. I look down at my side and lift the covers a bit. Sure, I guess. Leaf walks around the other side of the bed and begins to awkwardly unwrap the bandages with his gloved hands. When I catch Lyre watching him across the room, he quickly averts his gaze. He certainly is expressive, though he tries to hide it. Leaf finishes unwrapping the bandages and I finally get a good look at the wound. It looks a bit messy. A dark red colour around the skin and the scar left behind isn't pretty. It's coming along nicely. He's got to be kidding. He takes a damp sponge and begins to lightly dab and rub at it. I see the wound start to clean up nicely. After a minute, Leaf rubs some weird cream on it with a sponge and he seems to be done. Lyre is turned around, meekly fidgeting with something on the desk. I'm not surprised that you're getting better very fast. You should be able to walk now without risk of opening up the wound. Just try to take it slow. How can I take things slow when everything's happening so fast? That's good to hear, thank you. Lee seems to be happy to hear his efforts appreciated, so I can hear his tail lightly flipping up and down, rhythmically tapping against the ground for a second. I'm always happy to help. Let me know if you need anything else. Oh, with that, he picks up his bag and makes his way to the door before turning to Lyre. I'll leave the rest to you. He shuffles through the door when it closes behind him with a soft thud. The silence settles once Leaf leaves. Lyre is clearly uncomfortable with it, so he speaks up. Leaf usually knows what he's talking about, but are you sure you're okay? He gives me a look of concern for a moment, then his eyes dart, first the floor, then around the room. Aside from my body feeling sore, after being awake for a bit, I feel better. I feel good enough, I guess. He looks at me with a smile and adjusts himself. Well, you want to get dressed? Your clothes and other things were brought up. He gestures over the corner of the room where I can see my trunks and belongings. Even though I'm wrapped in bandages around my torso, I still feel underdressed, so I guess putting on some clothes would definitely help. I make a motion to rise, but Lars shoots me a worried look. Maybe I could get you something to wear? Oh, sure, just the outfit from that trunk over there. I point to the trunk on the left, which has the outfit I was going to wear when I met the king. He makes his way over the pile of trunks, his cape gliding across the floor behind him with each careful step. Lyre looks very out of place in this room. Everything looks so small compared to him. He bends down and latches the trunk. I see him pause to look at its contents, then proceed to curiously sift through it. His ears perk up really high when he finds the outfit. He clumsily stands from his kneeling position and walks over the side of my bed carrying the outfit. It's nothing too fancy. I may have some form of noble status, but I don't tend to overplay it. It is, however, the nicest outfit I own that fits the climate. The main parts of it are made from cotton, with bits of silk here and there. There is the basic undershirt with flowy sleeves and a slight ruffle. The trousers are layered and tight-fitting with pockets on the side. Tailcoats usually are not my favourite article of clothing to wear. Usually I lean towards robes or jackets. There is some fur and there's a small scarf I can wrap around my neck and tuck into the vest. Lyre places the outfit on the bed and takes a step back. Is this the one? He says he was a bit of worries if he made the wrong decision. Yeah, this is it. I sit up and grab onto the pair of pants. I go to change and realise what's wrong with this. Should I bathe first? Lyre looks at me with a dismissive gaze, then talks. You smell fine to me. I guess someone like him would be the best judge of that. I go to unbutton my trousers, but stop, realising he's watching. Do you mind looking the other way? Oh, of course. He quickly turns on his heel and stands at the other side of the room, staring out of the window, the light eclipsing around his dark fur. I take off my trousers and undergarments, put on a fresh new pair, then fasten the new slacks. As I secure the last button, I lift my head and speak in his direction. Okay, you're good. Sorry. He turns away from the window quickly as he's frustrated with something happening outside. I reach down for the shirt and bring it up over my head. As my arms rise above my head, I feel a sharp pain in my side and wince. Lyre clearly sees this. Maybe I should help. No, really, it's fine. I just need to... I slide my arms through the sleeves and my head pops up through the collar. I'm even able to finish putting the vest on. Lyre is walking around the other side of the bed carrying the tailcoat. He lifts it up, motioning to put it on me. He drapes the coat over me slowly, with the collar fitting around my neck. I carefully embrace it and start putting it on. So, you're going to be my guard? Well, if you'll have me. He says this with a solemn look on his face. I guess it wouldn't hurt. I really don't mind it. I don't know if I'll need the protection, but it's always nice to be prepared. It's also nice to have a guide of sorts to show me around. It definitely would help. Almost half of your men were wiped out in that disaster. The king thought that you could use some extra paws. And I can show you the castle and escort you in the town. I like that a lot. although I don't know if I'll have the time for it. That sounds nice.
The king also thought you might like to have someone in a high position that you can trust.
He says this with a certain proudness in his voice and a slight smile. I decide to humour him. What makes you think I trust you? He stops moving one of the sleeves up my arm for a moment, then starts again, his mouth twisted into an embarrassed smile.
Don't worry, I jest. Very funny.
He grumbles to himself as I fasten the buttons on the front. So you watched me while I slept? He's taken aback by this statement.
I'm your guard. I was stationed outside your room to keep watch. Believe me, it's not something I wanted to do. It's not like you're in any danger.
Why are you up at night? Do you take both day and night shift?
Well, I don't need to sleep all that much. Plus, I feel more awake at night.
Oh yeah, I've heard that some races don't need as much sleep. Maybe 3 to 4 hours within the 24-hour period. I guess that's good for someone in his position. Well, it's fine. Again, I was only joking. I do enjoy watching this wolf get flustered.
You're just full of jokes, aren't you?
He shakes his head with a slight laugh, sighs as he looks at the floor. One of his teeth hangs out of his mouth in a goofy way. I take this moment of silence to get down to business. Does the king request my presence? I realize it was a bit foolish of me to dress for the occasion before even considering I might not even get to meet the king today. I'm just looking forward to meeting him and discussing certain matters that pertain to my job.
Well, I'm sure the king knows that you're awake at this moment, but I assume he'll find out shortly. Most likely you'll be able to speak with him during supper tomorrow.
That does sound interesting. I definitely wouldn't mind having a nice meal right now. Speaking of supper, I'm very hungry.
Oh, don't worry, that's already been taken care of. Lyre would have sent for one of the servers to bring you some food by now. Especially since they won't have to feed you with that weird tube.
Did they seriously have to do that? I feel sick at the thought.
Only twice, and don't worry, it's not that bad. That old squirt may be a bit weird at times, but he knows his way around medicine. He's been able to achieve things most wouldn't even imagine to be possible.
Lyre has an odd relationship with the bird. Sounds like he respects him, though. What I've seen, he seems to know his way around his work, and I trust him. Seems pretty jumpy, though. I wouldn't imagine he's the best at surgery. Then again, I'm still here. Unless he had help.
So, how do you find yourself in your position?
Well, that came out of nowhere. I think for a moment about what I should say. I won't give away too much about myself. Well, I was granted nobility in the West, and I'm good at what I do. At least I like to think that I am. Sometimes I feel like I was carried through my position. Look on Lyle's face tells me that was a bit too vague.
Well, that's it?
There's an unsatisfied look on his face. But then he shrugs.
I'm sure there's more to it.
Well, if I'm going to tell you my life story, you better tell me yours. And I'll need a drink.
Oh, deal.
It's not even the 18th hour by the time the sun dissipates behind the mountains. I'm forced to light a candle. Taken off most of my outfit, folded it and set it down in the corner for tomorrow. Lyle's reclined in one of the chairs, telling me about when he was a squire, when there's a knock at the door. His ears perk up and he sniffs at the air.
Oh, I thought I smelled food.
Really? So all I can smell is wine. He stumbles getting up, yet confidently walks over to the door. Though he tries to hide it, he's a bit tipsy. He opens it and greets the server. A cart is pushed in as Lyle steps back. The cart is filled to the brim with all different types of foods. I see a roasted duck, cooked fish, all laid on greens surrounded by vegetables. I recognise these delicacies due to them being abundant where I'm from. There's some bread and cheese with a weird sauce in a bowl off to the side. On a side tray is a fresh bottle of wine with what looks to be a piece of mint.
Oh, thank you.
I call out to the server standing in the doorway. He nods in acknowledgement and leaves. Lyre stands there for a moment before adjusting his cape.
Well, enjoy your meal.
He makes to leave the room, but I speak up. Oh, you're not going to join me? He pauses for a moment and turns to answer.
Well, that's very generous of you, but I'll just go eat in my quarters later. Besides, I already rated you of your wine. And I have stuff that I need to do.
I'm sad that I have to see him go, but he also looks a bit conflicted. I don't think I can be alone right now. I need some company after everything that's happened. Oh, come on, I insist. Besides, this is way too much food, even for someone who hasn't had a proper meal in days. He turns away from the door before closing with a smile on his face.
Well, if it's okay with you, I guess I can stay.
He walks back over to one of the chairs and sits down. I take a bunch of the food and put it on my plate. The fish looks really good, so I grab some of that first. There's a piece of parchment placed in the centre of the tray. I pick up the note and read it. Enjoy. Ah. Maybe that's the chef? Once I'm done, Lyre begins filling up his plate. He takes quite a bit of it, and most of the duck is gone by the time he's done plating his food. I thought that I was taking a lot. He plops into his chair and starts to eat. After a few minutes of somewhat quiet eating, he continues his story.
Well, anyway, I was a squire for Lord Bryn up to the age of 19. And I was made an anointed knight by the king.
Wow, it's a really young age being become a knight. And now you're the captain?
Oh, yep.
How old are you now?
22.
You captain the Guardian only 22? I blurt this out for immediately regretting it. I'm only just about to turn 20 and I'm already being sent far away on diplomatic missions, so I guess I shouldn't be talking. But still, most people aren't even knighted until they're 21.
Oh, believe me, I was just as surprised as you are. Well, a captain usually has a next in line selected in case they die. When Sir Runar died, he had me chosen as his successor. Everyone said he was grooming me for command, but I didn't really suspect it. The king was pleased with this, though, so I didn't question it.
He takes a grape, pops in his mouth, and chews it with a distant look on his face. Did you not want to be captain? He stops chewing for a moment and keeps going.
Well, it's something I wanted, but it just happened so fast.
Yeah, I understand. It must be stressful being put in a position like that so fast. Well, I'm sure you're doing a good job.
Well, I hope so.
He takes another drink from his cup. I take another bite from my fish. It's soft and basically melts in my mouth. It's the best food I had in a long time. Maybe it's because I was so hungry. The fish tastes much different from the fish off the coast of Erin. Lyre empties his cup and then reaches the pitcher to pour some more.
So, Ivor, how old are you?
I'm 19.
You look a bit older than 19 to me.
I cock an eyebrow at him.
Not that that's a bad thing.
Well, the same can be said for you, Scruffy. I jokingly drag my finger across my right eye, hinting at his scar.
I guess so.
He reaches up and rubs a paw over his eye while chuckling. How did you get it? If you don't mind me asking. He contemplates for a moment and pours more wine.
Well, I'll tell you that story someday. And I need a lot more wine than this.
He lifts the bottle and sloshes it around slightly. His speech is a bit slurred due to the drunk state he's in. He takes a big drink from his cup and lowers it with a satisfied exhale. It must be interesting.
That's one way to describe it.
He picks up his empty plate and sets it on the tray. I'm finishing a piece of bread when I notice his eyes light up.
Oh, can I have this piece of mint?
He holds a little bundle of leaves. Yeah, you can have it.
Oh, thank you. Mint is my favourite.
He pops a piece of it in his mouth and chews on it in pure bliss, his tail wagging. I finish my plate and place it on the tray. I'm feeling really tired now that I have some food in my stomach. I can tell Lyle senses this.
Well, thanks for letting me eat with you, but...
He gets out from his chair with a grunt and pats his stomach.
I should probably be going. I'm sure you're going to have a busy day tomorrow.
He starts walking towards the door. No need to thank me. You're good company. He smiles and opens the door.
Have a good night. I'll be guarding the hall for a bit if you need anything.
Good night. He kind of stumbles through the door and it closes with a thud. I take off the rest of my outfit, blow out the candle, then fall into bed. Today was certainly a strange day. I've only been awake for a couple of hours, but I feel so tired. My side still feels a bit sore, but it should get better with time. Lyle and Leaf seem really nice. Especially Lyle. I'm glad I was in their care while I was out. Can't help but be excited to meet the king tomorrow. It may sound boring, but I'm actually looking forward to my job. The wine gets to me and I slowly drift off. My eyelids feel dry and burn at the corners. I lay there motionless, not because I can't move, but because I don't want to. I feel so exhausted. The lower halves of my arms and legs feel like stone pillars. I slowly collect myself as I wake up. Sometimes when I'm waking up, it takes me a minute to realise that I even exist. I have to steadily become aware of my surroundings. I groggily open my eyes. It's still night. I look out the moonlit window and scan the room adjusting my eyes. That would make sense considering how much sleep I've already gotten. I raise myself in my reclined position. Halfway to a sitting position, I feel a tug at my throat. It feels like a smooth rope is tied around my neck. It pulls me back with a hard jolt. I feel a burning substance lurch down my throat. It's acidic and has an awful taste to it. What's happening? I struggle in the grasp, but it appears pointless. There's a harder tug as the rope pulls me deeper into the bed. I feel the burning liquid pour down my throat faster now as my upper body sinks into the covers. I try to scream out for Lyle, hoping he's in the hall still. I see shadows cast through the crack under the door. It looks like someone is on the other side, standing in front of it. I hear a breath in my right ear. If. I jolt awake, eyes wide open, breathing hard as my chest heaves up and down. The early morning light is pouring through the window, casting a pink hue on the bricks. I fucking hate nightmares. They're even scarier when they make sense. It's much different when they consider preposterous scenarios that could never even happen. Nightmares like the one I just had are the ones that linger in my head for a while after they happen. I've really got to stop drinking before bed. I rustle out of bed and get to my feet. The ground is still a bit cold. I should probably ask if I could have a rug brought up. I walk across the room, my bare feet lightly padding against the cool ground, sending a fresh feeling throughout my body. The stress from that vivid nightmare is slowly fading away as I lightly move towards the window. Once I reach it, I press my hand to the cold glass and look outside. There isn't much to see from this side of the castle, just some mountains and the sky. I wish I had a view of the town. I stare out at the mountains and the way they cascade down from the skies like great stone blankets covered in grass. The trees are slowly losing their leaves as winter approaches. I hear the door open and some shuffling. I turn around and see Leaf stand in the doorway carrying a tray with food. I see some meat with cheese and some bread with a cream spread. It all looks really good and I am a bit hungry. I thought I'd bring you a breakfast up since I wanted to give you some of this. He nudges the corner of the tray where a small bottle shakes around. You seem to be doing fine right now, but just in case you feel any pain, you can take a spoonful of this. I rub my side and don't really feel any discomfort. Feels a bit sore though. Oh, thank you. It's no problem. He sets the tray down on the small table next to my bed. After filling one of the bottles, he turns and looks in my direction. His gaze meets with my side and he tilts his head in curiosity. You're healing very fast. I rub up my side and shrug. Humans do that. You said it yourself. I did. I decide to change the subject. How often do you wear that thing? I say lightly, pointing to his mask. I find it's very useful in my profession. He holds his hands together down by his waist as he idly pats his clawed foot against the ground. Has anyone ever even seen your face? He looks down with a sigh of defeat, then brings his gloved hands up behind his head. See him start to fiddle with the little leather latch on the back. He pulls the mask off, tossing it onto the bed. He then takes his hat off and looks up at me. He looks like a raven, which I find ironic. His little beady green eyes stare up at me. Without the mask, he looks a lot more approachable. Not satisfied? He says in a curious yet slightly annoyed tone. Perfectly. I say back with some satisfaction. He goes for his mask back on while averting his gaze. I feel a lot better with you poking and prodding me now that I know what you look like. I honestly didn't care that much, but I didn't want him to think he'd get away with that on every patient. Well, I'm glad I could make you feel a bit more comfortable. He steps over to the door and opens it. If you have any questions, just ask me or anyone around the castle. Where's Lyre? Leaf pauses for a moment, leaning his head out the doorway to quickly stare down the hall. At this time of morning, he could be anywhere. I wonder if he's still sleeping. One would hope he didn't stay out in the halls all night. I could think of any other questions I might have. I could really use a bath. I feel very unclean. Where's the bathing room? If you head left, it's the very end of the hallway behind the wooden door painted white. Left, wooden door, painted white. Got it. Thank you. You're very welcome. Have a nice day. With that, he leaves through the door when I'm left alone again. I'm glad I managed to get him to take off that mask. It's not like I'm someone riddled with a contagious disease. I walk over to the desk near the door and fidget with some of the things on it. It's a nice-looking quill which I pick up and twirl around with my fingers. I set it back down, then walk over to my pile of belongings. Probably have someone come up and unpack my things. Guess I can arrange them to my liking once they're at least out of the trunks. I turn back to the tray of food, sit on my bed and carry it over the desk. I sit down in the chair and scoot it forward. It's very comfortable and the desk is also perfect height. I go through the food pretty quick as I stare at the window at the clouds moving by. Before I know it, I'm done with my meal and drink the last of my water. It only takes me a couple of minutes to gather my things and head out the door. I step out into the hallway. The walls are lined with stone pillars and there's an occasional portrait, statue or torch. So near the end of the hall it turns into a sort of balcony. The pillars are separated by large arched windows. Get a nice view of the fjord from here. The light from outside pours into the hall and lights up the bricks with a glow. I reach the end of the hallway and there it is. A large door painted white, the light shining off of it making it contrast against the walls. I approach it and grab onto the handle. There's some resistance as I pull on the door. I push on it and it finally budges. I swing the door open and I'm met with a wonderful smell. The room is white and reflective, giving off a hazy glow. My eyes are instantly drawn to a large empty pool in the centre of the room, with a towering fountain in the centre. The faucet is shaped like a weird spiralled antler and made of what looks like gold. I stride into the room, my footsteps echoing off the walls. Even with the sound of my shoes patting against the ground, the room is peacefully quiet. To my right are 3 tall windows. Their glass is stained blue, green and yellow. The green was in the middle and slightly taller than the other 2. Figures, I whisper to myself under my breath. Reverberates around the room regardless. On my left there's another door. There's some carved benches against the walls and some towels folded and stacked next to a laundry chute. I set the clothes that I plan on changing into next to the towels. I turn and look at the pool, circling the edge, examining the fountain, trying to figure it out. After another quick scan of the room, I see some levers up against the wall on the corner. Walking up them, I see they have different coloured handles, and I figure this is the contraption to get the water flowing. One handle says water, another says mineral water, one says salt. Each handle has a different type of bath water, and some have soaps labelled on them. I don't really know which to choose, so I decide to have some fun and just pull all of the levers. There's a rumble in the walls that travels through the floors and pipes snaking around under my feet. Water starts to funnel out of the prongs in the antler, arching through the air and pouring into the bowl in the centre. The water is different colours, probably due to being mixed with so many kinds of soaps and other bath products. It fills up the bowl in the centre quickly, and soon a pillar of water starts to flow over the edge of the rim, splashing the bottom of the pool. After a while, the water is filled up to an adequate height and starts to drain out the side so it doesn't overflow. It's very enchanting watching the light from the coloured windows shine into the pale room and bounce off the multicoloured pool, sending refractions of coloured light bouncing off the walls. I look up and see a large owl statue shelved into the wall, its wings spread out, fanning across the ceiling. I walk over the bench next to the laundry chute and start to strip. Once my dirty clothes are off, I lay them in a pile on the bench and walk over to the large tub, my bare feet cold on the floor. The thick floral scent that I was hit with when I first entered the bathing room has gotten stronger, now that the tub has been churned with the different oils and soaps. Large bubbles are forming on the surface in all sorts of beautiful colours. I sit near the edge and slowly lower my foot past the bubbles and into the water. First, the water feels cold. As my nerves register the feeling, I feel a warm sensation around my foot. I ease myself into the water, and a warm feeling envelops my body, and I lean against the wall of the pool with my back to the entrance. The water is thick with fragrance and it feels amazing on my skin. I dunk my head into the water, closing my eyes as I quickly wet my hair. I bring my head back out of the water feeling refreshed and rejuvenated. Although Lyre said I didn't smell, there was no denying that I felt very dirty. I carefully start to rub my arms and legs as I clean myself. The waters wash away my worries, and my mind drifts away from all the crazy things that have happened so far, along with the weird dream I just had. I finish cleaning and lean back against the wall of the pool, closing my eyes to rest for a minute. I only have my eyes closed for about 10 seconds where I hear the door to my left open. Oh God. Lyre steps into the room, sliding through the half-open doorway and stops in his tracks when he sees me.
Right.
He shakes his head to clear his mind and takes a few steps forward, averting his gaze.
I didn't know anyone would be in here.
He walks the edge of the pool across from me and starts to get in. I look like a fool sitting in the water with a dumbstruck look on my face. I try to keep my eyes on his face. They fall to the one place I knew they would. I can't help but glance at his manhood as it sits there between his legs in full view. It's quite large, and I gather my thoughts and respond. I needed a bath. I bring my arms in and slink into the water. Lyre steps into the water and leans back against the wall with his arms crossed over his chest. His bushy tail floats on the surface behind him before getting wet and slowly sinking into the water.
Yeah.
There's an awkward silence in the room as we both just sit there. The red slowly fades from my face over time as I grow more and more comfortable with the situation. So, how's your morning? He pauses for a moment before answering.
Well, it was good. I got plenty of sleep.
He pauses again.
I have a massive headache, though. How are you feeling?
He starts to rub his arms and torso, cleaning his fur. I feel good, I guess. I got a lot more sleep than I thought I would.
Well, that's good to hear.
He dunks his head into the water and comes up a few seconds later, fur around his neck completely drenched. He catches me staring at him. I avert my gaze nonchalantly. I hear him splash around in the water a minute, then he speaks up.
I hope that wasn't too uncomfortable.
What? Of course that was uncomfortable. Here I'm enjoying a nice bath alone with my thoughts, and in steps an exposed wolfman. I mean, in a situation I wouldn't mind, but this certainly took me by surprise. Just a bit. I glanced in his direction, seeing an embarrassed look on his face. Don't worry about it, though. I relaxed a bit and moved my way around the bench.
Okay.
I watched him scrub the fur around his shoulders and neck, then splash water on it. He then dunked his head under the water and scrubbed his head, his ears flopping around. I just sit there and stare for a bit, then avert my eyes to the surface of the water in front of me, staring at my reflection. The silence goes on for some time. We sit there for about 3 minutes. Lyle's eyes are closed. He leans back against the edge of the pool. And after a while I hear him snort.
Ifor?
Yeah?
You added too much soap.
He snickers at this. Sorry, I thought I'd have fun with it. I know exactly how to use the levers.
You're fine. Next time only pull the soap lever down a tiny bit.
He lifts his paw from the water and pinches his finger and thumb together to emphasize how little I should use. Sure, thanks. There's more silence. We sit there, listening to the soft noise of the water pooling from the fountain. You know,
Oh, wait, I've got to mention. I got a message from the king to let you know that supper will be at 7.
Where's supper?
Oh, it's in one of the royal dining rooms. I'll escort you there at 15 till. Oh, and don't be intimidated. He's a very kind person. Even if he doesn't look the part.
He's a stag, right?
Yeah, he is.
That's all I really know about him.
You don't know his name?
No, I know his name, but back home in Erin, everyone refers to him as the Stag King. Not meaning any offence by it, of course. I feel that might have been a rude thing to say about his king.
Oh, trust me, no offence was taken. Just don't say anything like that in front of him. I don't even know how he would react.
He shakes his head and chuckles.
He'll probably just laugh it off. Or just not even acknowledge it. Just trying to overanalyze everything he does.
That's something I definitely have trouble with.
Really, it's his son who should watch his step around.
The prince?
Yeah, he can be a real pain. He's nothing like his father. Just make sure to get on his good side.
I make a mental note not to piss off the prince. Okay, I think I can do that. After all, it is part of my job. Kissing up for the right people. He smirks at this and leans back, staring at the ceiling. My eyes drift around the room, landing on him occasionally. I don't want to be rude. My curiosity betrays me, and my eyes drift onto him like magnets. Back in Erin, it was a rare sight to see a wolfman, even with a small population of other species. I'd never been so close to one, especially in a situation like this. The way his fur gleams in the light, the way his ears twitch around at every little noise. His large body and intimidating presence. Oh my god. Here I go again, getting carried away with my thoughts. This is the last situation I want to be put in. I managed to compose myself and sit up straight. I watched the fountain flow down, creating ripples in the water that tried to take my mind off things. After a while, the tense silence breaks. I hear Lyre disturb the water.
Well, I've had enough water.
I watch him turn around and lift himself from the pool. I get a glimpse of his rear and quickly look down, biting my lip. He gets up and walks over to one of the benches where I see some clothes laid out. He takes a towel and starts to dry himself off. By the end, his fur is really fluffy and he combs it down with his paws. And watching his tail swish back and forth, he turns and his gaze meets mine. I dart my eyes down and hope he didn't see me looking. I hear him stand there frozen, then he continues to dress. I'm still looking down the water when I hear him walk up to the edge, his feet splash in the small puddles that formed on the ground. He stands there smiling down at me with a loose shirt and trousers on.
Well, I guess I'll see you later.
He looks around for a second and gives me a nod. He walks behind me and I hear him go through the door. I sit there for a bit longer, waiting for my obvious erection to go away before getting out. Once I do, I slip a little bit, walking over the levers. I pull over them a second time and the water shuts off. The water drains and I hear the pool filling up again. I peer over the edge and see it filling up with fresh water. Guess that's how they clean the pool out of any soap left behind. There's some towels folded up and stacked in a corner. I grab one and start to dry myself off. Once I'm done with that, I throw it down the chute and start putting on my clothes. It's not difficult, but it still hurts a bit due to the soreness of my wound. Once I push the last button into place, I walk over to the bench next to the door and put on my shoes. Then make my way out to the bathroom. When I step out, the sun is high in the sky and a few birds fly by the pillars. I look on the ground and see Lyle's wet footprints make a trail down the hall. I shake my head and chuckle to myself, walking over the edge of the window. Staring out of the window gives me a better view of the kingdom. I see some homes scattered about. If I crane my head in the right direction, I can get glimpses of the city and fjord. I gaze a bit longer and sigh. I can't shake off the thoughts running through my head right now. It feels wrong being so attracted to a man I just met. Not to mention he's my bodyguard. And a wolfman. I mean, it's not unheard of. I shake my head, ashamed of myself. There's just something about him. Sure, he's good looking, but he's different from most people I've met. Seems to have a good head on his shoulders. He has a kind heart, though he humbly tries his best to hide it. Of course, it's just my first impression of him. There's one more thing that I really like about him, though. He seems genuine. The hours drag by slowly. I spend most of the afternoon after lunch going through scrolls, documents and letters that are sent with me to deliver to the king and his council. Most of these go to the king, though. Don't think it's a very large council, which is partly why I'm here. Lyle came back to my room sometime after lunch, relieving the guard who took over while he was gone. He peeked in and asked if I needed anything while I was working. I invited him in because I knew that I still wanted to pry some information out of him about what's to come. Sure, I've been in this position for some time. This is my first time outside of my own kingdom. And I seem to do things differently around here. I also enjoy his company. He's sitting in the same chair he sat in last night, toying around with a dagger. I pick up one of the letters from the small pile, placing a stack designated to the king's eyes.
So now you deliver the king's mail?
He says this in a snarky tone while resting the end of his finger on the tip of his dagger. I sigh, drop my hand slowly and glancing out of the window. The reason behind this was to ensure that all of this... I gazed back at him while gesturing to the letters. Gotcha. But after the rock slide, there have been some missing.
North winds have probably carried them all the way to the Golden Timber by now. My men gathered up as much of them as they could do.
I raise an eyebrow as I hold up one of the scrolls which has been smeared with dirt. I know, the trunk was practically smashed to pieces.
The lid was bent.
Whatever. He stifles a giggle and grins at me. It brings me out of my sour, overworked mood for a fleeting moment. His toothy grin is contagious. I grab some of the letters, bunching them up together and stack them against the desk. Put away the other scrolls and sit in my workspace for a minute with my hands folded in my lap. I go back and forth from staring out the window to staring at Lyle. His bushy tail sticks out the back of his chair and sweeps the floor, slowing down over time. He sits there for a minute, tinkering with his blade before lowering his shoulders, letting out a big breathy sigh.
What?
Huh?
Why are you staring at me? This is about earlier. Well, I'm sorry about gracing you with my...
Oh, what? Oh, no. I just wanted to talk more about... I gesture behind me out of the door. What to expect?
Oh.
He shivers, shaking his head a bit.
Well, I mean, like I said, you really don't need to prepare for much. It's just dinner.
I know, but I just want to make a good first impression. If I screw this up, I won't be taken seriously in my profession ever again.
Your profession? You won't be taken seriously at the dining table ever again.
He says this with a hint of sarcasm.
However, it's anything like the dinner we had last night. I'm sure you'll do fine. Personally, I think you're over-exaggerating.
Maybe I am. In other places would be reasonable, but does he tend to take these things seriously? He thinks for a moment, his nose twitching.
Oh, no, not really. I mean, he does. He just takes a more relaxed approach.
That sounds like he's going to make my job a lot easier. I'll take your word for it. The rest of the day passes by without any trouble. I started to feel really tired at one point. I laid in bed to rest my head for a bit and almost fell asleep. Lyre came in and nudged me back into reality. He told me we should leave soon, so I put on my suit. The soap from that bath did wonders to my hair, giving it a really nice shine. Also feels nice too. I pick up the letters and scrolls off the desk and make my way to the door. I look down the hall and see Lyre with his arms resting on the sill of the window. He's watching the sun go down behind the mountains. His figure is engulfed in warm light. His tail is swaying slowly behind him. His eyes are glazed with evening light. When I get closer, he turns his head and smiles.
And look at the sunset. Isn't it gorgeous?
I stand next to him and look out the window. The sun eclipses behind the mountains, so its warm light cascades over the landscape. The waters of the fjord are glistening with bright pink and orange hues. A soft wind blows through the hall and twists around the pillars. Yes, it's very beautiful.
You're probably not used to views like this.
Back home there aren't so many mountains. The way the sun shimmers on the waters off the coast of Erin is very enchanting.
I've never been that far west before.
Really?
Yes, I spent all of my life on this side of the continent. I think it would be very nice to go explore the rest of Tigran.
I think I already know the answer. I ask anyway. Why don't you? He lowers his head with a bittersweet smile.
Well, unless this kingdom sprouts legs and walks across the entirety of Tigran, I can't. I've given my life and heart to the king and his kingdom. I'll be doing this for the rest of my life.
He gestures out across the landscape. That sounds sad.
Oh, it's not all bad. I did go a little bit south of Lyre once.
We begin walking down the hall at a slow pace. I think you'd like Erin. It's a beautiful place with a perfect climate and rolling hills.
I'm more interested in stranger places.
Like
the Shadow Gulch and the Parched Labyrinth. I just want to go somewhere new. Somewhere completely different from Lyre.
We walk in silence a bit longer. Lyre is walking with his paws behind his back and his chin high. Keeps opening his mouth as he's about to say something, only to close it. Finally he speaks.
I'm sorry about earlier.
What?
Or snapping at you like that. It's my fault anyway. I could sense you're uncomfortable the whole time, but I thought I could make things less uncomfortable if I just played it casual. I'm usually the only one there during that time of day.
Is this about the bathroom?
Yes.
I reach over and place my hand on his back. It's fine. He grimaces, then puts on a shy grin.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I just tend to overthink these things.
I didn't know you were so shy about your body. My jest gets to him as I watch his mouth curl like he's trying to stop a smile.
Well, I'm not. I just...
He sighs and waves his paw dismissively. I let out a slight chuckle. What?
You have a cute laugh.
I can feel my face flush red. Please don't say that. We laugh together for a moment and carry on the rest of our walk in silence. Delving far in the interior of the castle, we twist and turn through the halls. The torches line the hallway are lit with a glowing blue fire. As we make our way deeper and deeper into the castle, we pass framed paintings of noble-looking people. I see a badger dressed in colourful clothing with a large ruff around his neck. A little ways down I see a portrait of a fox clad in a white and purple silk dress and a shawl. After a while we come across a large pair of double doors.
Well, here we are. Are you ready?
I swallow the lump in my throat and nod, straightening out my clothes. Lyre walks at one of the large doors and raps at it. For a moment there's only the sound of the door knocker echoing down the empty halls. Then it's a voice from the other side. Come in. Lyre glances in my direction and opens the door. The door swings open and a warm room meets my eyes. There's a large dining table in the centre with 3 chairs. I look to my left and see the other chairs have been stacked up against the wall. Cabinets and chests line this wall underneath the curtained windows. On the far right wall is a mirror and some wine. Straight ahead of me is a large painted table full of food and butchered meats. Looks like a royal pantry. A large chandelier hangs from the ceiling right above the table, illuminating the room with an orange glow from the candles. Despite all of this, the room does look fairly simple. My eyes take in most of this within a second, rather than I'm immediately drawn to the figures in the room who stand to greet me. There, sitting in the chair to the left of the room, is a large stag. The king. His antlers are tall and elegant, framed by a crown with a crest of Tigran, the shimmering green gem at the top signifying Lyre's territory. He's clad in a large fur coat with greens and purples. He's almost as big as Lyre. I look to the right side of the table and see another deer. This must be the prince. He's not nearly as tall as his father, almost coming up to my height. The antlers on his head are small prongs. He's wearing similar coloured clothing, with a much more noble look to it. He has a cape draped over his shoulder, pinned down with a crest of Tigran. His demeanour is dismissive and he barely makes eye contact with me. I turn my gaze back to the king and lower myself to one knee, bowing my head. King Rayner, it is an honour to finally be in your presence. He has a stern look on his face. There's a warmth to his voice. It is good to see that you have recovered, Lord Ifor. I am so terribly sorry about what happened to you on your journey here. Yes, it was an unfortunate event. I'm very grateful for the welcoming hospitality that you and your staff have shown me. He gives me an understanding nod and gestures towards the prince. This is my son, Prince Adrius. I bow in his direction. It is a pleasure to meet you, Your Highness. He grimaces for a moment, clearly uncomfortable with the situation, and straightens up. Likewise. There's a short moment of silence which is broken by Rayner. I take it my captain has been helpful? He gestures towards Lyre, who's standing in the doorway. Lyre shrugs his shoulders and smiles. You're very helpful, yes. That's very good to hear. I knew that Captain Reed would do well for this task. Even though I'm looking in the king's direction, I can still hear Lyle's tail wagging furiously. Please, take a seat. It takes a moment for my legs to work again. I walk around the table, passing behind Adrius. As I'm walking around the table, I hear the door close and realise that Lyre has left. We take our seats and I set the box of scrolls and letters on the floor next to my seat. There's a moment of silence before Rayner speaks up. I hope that your accommodations are adequate. He rests his hands on the table, leaning back in his chair. They are more than adequate, Your Majesty. He draws back with a frown on his face. Please, you can refer to me as Rayner. I'd like to dispense with the formalities when not in public. If it pleases you. Lyre wasn't kidding. This is the most casual king I've ever met. Then again, I've only ever met one. Our queen is the no-nonsense type. What is that? He nods towards the box on the floor next to my seat. Oh, yes. I bend down to pick up the small box and place it on the table. These are some important documents that were sent with me to deliver to you. Financial reports, some settlements, news about the other territories, and other letters of intelligence. I figured I should give these to you while I had the audience. He motions with his hand for me to slide the box his way. I push the box in his direction and examines the documents. Is this everything? I fold my hands together. It's all that we could salvage after the crash.
I have a list of the missing documents and I'll have copies delivered. He opens one of the letters and skims over it before placing it on top of the small pile in the box. I thank you for bringing these to me. I shall go through these later and share these documents with the rest of my court so they can evaluate them. Pushes the box off to his right and places his hands on the table. There's a half-minute of silence where Adrian slightly slaps his hands on the table in resignation. So that's it? A glance at the piece of paper and that's all you have to say? The mood of the room instantly changes. For a moment I'm too shocked to even sink into my chair. As I said, I will look at these documents later. He turns to me, drumming his fingers on the table. I'd hoped to delay this meeting until Lord Kadaj arrived, but we have a kingdom to rule. Raynar has a stern look on his face as he stares his son down from across the table. I have a kingdom to rule. And 2 other kingdoms to work with. I see it as best to wait until both parties are here before discussing such matters. Adris grits his teeth for a moment, then reluctantly concedes. Of course, father. I have only our kingdom's best interests at heart. Raynar leans back in his chair with a look of content on his face. Since we are still waiting on our ambassador from Driss, I assumed that we could use this time for introductions. He looks at me with a reassuring smirk. I'm still recovering from the random burst of tense energy, so I just nod in agreement. After a few minutes, the doors swing open. 3 servers walk in, pushing small carts with food placed on them. They begin to move all the food onto the table. There's a large roasted turkey sitting in the centre of the table, surrounded by greens and potatoes. They smell delicious, and I can clearly see the steam coming off of them. Grapes of a rich purple colour are placed on a plate near the centre, and there are bowls of different dressings. A large bowl with a salad is placed on the table. The vegetables are laid perfectly and it's drizzled in oils and vinegar. There's also a plate of crisp bread rolls. The smell reminds me of the bakeries back home. Finally, a large pot of soup is set right next to the table on the rolling cart. The servers start to make our plates. I watch them take a little bit of everything and place it on mine. One of the servers walks forward with a pitcher of wine and fills my cup. After a while, everyone has been served their food. My plate is filled with just about everything. It's a lot of food and I don't know if I'll be able to eat it all. I just figure I'll eat as much as I can. Raynar's plate has a big steamed potato and a salad bowl with grapes on the side. Adria's opted for a single bowl of soup. We eat for a bit before Raynar speaks up. So, how are things in Erin? I haven't been to the Kingdom of Erin in about 10 years. I take a moment to finish chewing the piece of turkey in my mouth. I'm afraid you haven't missed out on much. Erin hasn't changed, and I don't think it will change for a while. The climate is as favourable as ever, and our citizens continue to thrive. I feel that I'm rambling. When I make eye contact, I see that he's giving me his full attention and seems interested in the topic. Meanwhile, the prince sits across the table from me, picking away at his soup, with a look of an interest on his face. I'm told Erin has managed to supply both Driss and Lyre with an abundance of food. We are fortunate to have such fertile farming lands and very glad to be able to support our neighbouring kingdoms. Especially with winter drawing near. Smooth. Raynar takes a sip of wine and leans back in his chair. I agree on that matter. It is very important that we work together. The people of Lyre know better than anyone how harsh winter can be. I'm sure that you do. He gives a slight smile and leans forward, taking a bite from his salad. And we have your people to thank for this food. I nod in agreement, tipping my wine glass in his direction. We continue to eat while having conversations about our common interests. He seems to be very interested in me, which is new because I've never thought I was that interesting. I guess being in this castle that I would make him want to live vicariously through others. That's a stretch, though, I might be overanalyzing. The prince has been quiet most of the time, interjecting with his thoughts occasionally. So where exactly did you come from, and how did someone like you achieve nobility? He asks this with a look of disdain. I'm starting to dislike him more and more as the night goes on. I lower my glass after taking a drink and pause to swallow.
Your Highness, I'm afraid that is not a very interesting story. He doesn't look satisfied with that answer. Lyre told me to get on his good side, but I don't think he has one. He seems to be bitter all around. I suppose. He traced his finger around the rim of his wineglass while resting his chin on his fist. I just worked hard and proved myself useful. Speaking of hard work, I have some important news for you, Lord Ifor. I am choosing to appoint you as the Royal Financial Advisor, along with your other duties. Do you think you'll be up to this challenge? I fold my hands and respond calmly. I have experience with this sort of work back home. It shouldn't prove to be a challenge at all. He looks to be very pleased to hear this. That is excellent news. The Winter Solstice Ball will be held a month from now. We'll need to figure out the expenses. It should be quite exciting for you, considering you've never been to one. The Winter Solstice Ball. Yes, here in Lyre it's one of our most famous celebrations. We celebrate the solstice as a reminder of the death and rebirth of our sun. We use this time to cherish our loved ones. That sounds really nice. I'll make sure that everything is in order. Very good. We have past records on hand that you can refer to. I'll have them sent to your apartment in the morning. Our meal goes into the night and soon everyone is finished eating. I can feel a cold draft from the windows behind me and crickets chirping. Didn't eat everything on my plate, but I still feel full. Raynor gets up from his seat and steps forward, holding out a hand. Taken aback by this gesture, but reach forward. He takes my hand in both of his and shakes it up and down once with a firm grip. It was a pleasure to meet you, Lord Ifor. I do hope that you enjoy your stay here, however long it may be. Thank you, Raynor. I gather myself and look toward the prince who is standing across the table. I give a bow in his direction. It was an honour to meet you, Your Highness. He gives me a slight smile, or I don't feel that it's authentic. You're too kind. It was nice meeting you too. When the servers opens the door, Lyre walks into the room. I wish to both of you a good night. I give a bow in both their directions and then make my way to the door. Lyre stands near the doorway, and as I make my way over, he gives me a wink with a soft smile. We walk through the doorway and I spot Raynor giving Adris a despondent look before the door is closed.
I assume everything went well?
He places his paw on my shoulder with a reassuring smile. Well, I wouldn't say they went bad. You're looking at the new financial advisor.
That's good.
I'm about to respond when I spot a painting of Raynor and Adrius. Raynor is looking off to the distance with a solemn look on his face, while Adrius confidently glares forward. I'd say the artist captured them perfectly. I see it as a good opportunity, and I don't think it should be too hard.
Okay, but how did it go? Dinner with the king.
I don't really know how to feel about it. He's certainly a nice person. I can imagine he is a good king. He's got an understanding head on his shoulders.
I agree, he is a great king. He has wisdom and kindness unparalleled with others.
The prince, on the other hand... Lyre rolls his eyes at the mention of the prince.
He's not the most pleasant person to be around. And he's sure he doesn't treat me with any respect.
Really? We've moved over to one of the windows. He rests his paws on the sill and one of his ears twitches slightly. I can feel the cool night breeze blowing through my hair and on my face.
I think he's called me by my name once.
What does he call you? He sighs, tapping his paws on the bricks.
Wolf, dog, and hound, just to name a few.
Well, that makes him ignorant. You're only one of those things.
Yep, 100% pure Lyrean wolfman right here.
He bangs his fist on his chest, clattering the metal plate. I laugh and he chuckles to himself timidly.
I don't think he'll be a problem. Aside from being annoying.
I'll stay clear of him either way. We continue to walk, with Lyre in front leading me through the maze of corridors. I watch the tip of his tail brush the floor from under his cape. We descend a flight of stairs and our walk begins to slow.
I'm glad that we can enjoy each other's company.
He fiddles with one of his gloves, pulling the fourchettes off his fingers, then pulling the glove back down on his paw by the trank.
It's very lonely in this castle. It's hard to have friends when you're the captain of the Royal Guard. Things are nice, but I barely have any time to meet new people or go places.
He pauses, letting the words hang in the air.
I'm sorry if this comes off as a bit odd, considering I met you only yesterday, but I'm looking forward to working with you, Ifor.
We arrive at the door to my room and he stands there waiting for me to say something. I feel the same way. I've only known you for 2 days and I already think I know you better than anyone back home.
Really?
Yeah. Back in Erin, people only want things from me. If you don't have what they want, they don't even give you the light of day. You're the first person who I feel wants to actually be my friend, isn't just trying to use me. I open the door to my room and step inside. Good night, Lyre. He looks at me with a soft smile, his eyes reflecting the little light that there is in this darkness. I can hear his tail beating against his cape as it wags back and forth.
Good night, Ifor.
He closes the door and I can hear his heavy footfalls make their way down the hall. I take off my jacket and walk over to my bed, falling onto the mattress. I feel exhausted after everything that happened today. Everything fades out around me as I drift into a deep sleep. And there we go, that was episode 1 of Lyre. So hope you're enjoying that. And as I said, there will be a couple of new ones coming up later in the month as well. I'm not going to tell you what they are yet. It'll be a surprise month. And of course, it's that time. I have to thank all my patrons and my supporters on Ko-fi. Your donations are very much appreciated. And my top tier patrons are Grizz, Evan King, David Taylor, Samuto, Brian Hall, Anubis Silverwind, Ida Corval, Brandon Bradford, Bastian, Lark Huskerton, Gunnar Muller, Tiger Cub, Sindri Dragowolf, Dissonance, Pesuksu, Cobus Visser, Kartek, Burnt Toast, Jewel, and Popot. Thanks to all of you especially. So there may be a video in the week, or we may wait till next weekend to see it. I'll see how things go in the week. But there will be one coming up before too long anyway. And probably be a new VN. So I hope you have enjoyed Lyre, and all the links to download it yourself and support and all that kind of thing will be in the description. So until next time, bye for now.